In this video, we're going to be doing a full walkthrough of Webinar JEO. So using Webinar JEO with Convertri means that you can set up a form on your page where a user enters their email address and Webinar JEO will then send them the link to your next webinar. This is a really useful tool. So our full walkthrough is going to include getting Webinar JEO integrated with Convertri, making sure that we have a webinar that we will be able to use within our Convertri page, and then finally creating a Convertri page that can have a form for the user to enter that email address we talked about before. So to get started, we need to get Webinar JEO integrated by going to the account dashboard and clicking on integrations on the left-hand toolbar. Webinar JEO is a little way down, so scroll. So we get to webinars, and then on Webinar JEO, click Setup. So it's really simple. All you actually need is your username and password. So enter these and then press Save. Once you've done this, you should get a green message on your box and there'll be a little green tick next to Webinar JEO so that we know that we are set up with Webinar JEO. So once you're integrated, the next step, like I said, is to make sure you have a webinar that you're able to use on a page. So go to your Webinar JEO dashboard, so open up Webinar JEO in a separate tab, and you'll get your normal dashboard. So there are two key things which are necessities in order for Convertri to see your webinars. So Convertri isn't actually going to see all of these webinars because even though they say upcoming events, as you can see, they're timetabled for years that were in the past, basically. So the first thing that you need to make sure is that when you set up your new webinar or edit a webinar you have, that it is due to happen in the future, or the recording is due to play in the future. Convertri can't send out links to a webinar that isn't going to happen, so it won't read it. So that's the first thing you need to make sure. And the second one is that you have Watch Now ticked as yes. So this is within the settings. In Edit, if you scroll, you will see that there's an option for Watch Now. So Convertri can't see your webinar unless Watch Now is selected. So once you have a webinar, whether it be one that you already have or one that you're practicing with that has Watch Now is selected and it's scheduled for the future, then we are ready to set up a page within Convertri. So go back to Convertri, and now you can go to the page that you wish to add your form to. So I'm just going to be using a little template for collecting webinar email addresses to make it as realistic as possible. So, like I said, this is the template, but the one thing that you will really need on your page is this email address input box and a submit button. I've just added other elements just as an example because you might want a little bit more information from your user. But yeah, the minimum that you will need is this email input box and this button here, which is set to sign up. So to get these, go to the form elements tray. Here's the email input box. Here are also the first and last name boxes that I'm using here. And then I selected a submit button. Obviously I already have one, so I don't need that. And you have to make sure that your mode is set to sign up. So once you have these two elements on the page with the mode set to sign up, you are ready to integrate Webinar JEO with this page. So go to Forms and then go to Webinars. Select Webinar JEO and it will say which webinar would you like to add your prospects to. So this is my only webinar that I had in that account that was not only scheduled for the future but also had Watch Now toggled on. So I'm going to select it. That's the one I'm going to link up. You can see that these are fixed fields, so both Webinar and JEO and Convertri understand that an email is an email and a name is a full name, just so that information is stored correctly. But if you just get the term field and it doesn't say fixed and there's a drop down where this is, you need to correctly label or configure all your form fields. This is just to make sure that it is all set up properly and that Webinar JEO is understanding the information that you're giving it. So once you've made sure that you've configured your form fields, if you need to, because this can be really important, you'll click done and you'll be taken to here. So it's just going to ask you what you want to happen when someone clicks submit or reserve now, in my case, on my page. Either they're just going to stay on my page and they'll receive the email, Or I'm just going to hit into a thank you page because I might want to thank them for signing up with my webinar, in which case you need to paste in the URL here. So this is my thank you page that I use, of the page that you wish to them to be directed to, and you can decide whether form data also needs to be submitted to this page. So once you've set up the webinar with Webinar JEO and set up your thank you page, click Done. We now have a little red tick next to the forms icon, which is letting us know that this is successfully set up. So now you're all ready to publish the page, and you're welcome to test it yourself to see if you get your link, and you're ready to start getting people signing up for your webinars.